The devilish man was struck dumb by what he was seeing. He had already judged Han Li to be an extremely formidable foe, especially due to his mastery of time attribute laws, which were notoriously difficult to contend with. That was why he had shown no hesitation at all, unleashing his spirit domain from the very beginning to suppress Han Li, then burning through his own law threads to forcibly elevate his speed with a secret art, and finally condensing every remaining law thread within his body into a single all-out strike. In his mind, even if Han Li survived, he should have at least been gravely wounded. Yet reality had unfolded in the exact opposite way. The devilish man was violent and cruel by nature, and years of confinement had only intensified that savagery. Once freed, he had been desperate to vent his hatred upon Immortal Realm cultivators. But now, with even his strongest attack failing to achieve victory, his boiling rage was slowly overtaken by cold reason, urging him to retreat while he still could. After suppressing the Black Lightning Dragon, Han Li quietly let out a breath of relief, though at the same time he chastised himself inwardly. Had he activated his time spirit domain from the outset, he would never have been forced into such a dangerous situation. Just as he produced the profound heavenly gourd, the golden flame atop the altar beside him suddenly shone with blinding brilliance. Only then did Han Li recall its existence. The golden flame resonated with the surrounding time spirit domain and abruptly swelled to several times its former size, remaining strangely unaffected by either the mantra treasured axis or the time-severing fire domain. Powerful fluctuations of time law erupted from within it, shaking the entire time spirit domain. Han Li turned toward the flame in surprise and immediately flicked his sleeve, releasing 2 streams of incantation seals that flowed into the golden flame and the profound heavenly gourd. Time law threads still embedded within the flame ignited at once, directing it toward the lightning dragon as a streak of golden shadow, while the gourd simultaneously released a surge of green light that swept forward even faster, coiling tightly around the dragon and dragging it downward. The lightning dragon trembled violently, its immense law power resisting capture. With over 100 law threads forming its body, even the profound heavenly gourd could not absorb it immediately. At that moment, the golden flame struck true. The black lightning dragon rapidly withered, splitting into 2 halves in an instant, filling Han Li with joy and the devilish man with terror. Yet the golden flame suddenly flickered erratically, its internal time law power churning out of control and weakening the suppression of the mantra, treasured axis, and time-severing fire domain. Seizing the chance, the devilish man dropped to the ground and transformed into a colossal lion devil beast, hundreds of feet tall. Its bronze body etched with black lightning patterns and crowned with curved horns crackling with lightning. The lightning on the horns flared until they resembled twin black suns, and the 2 halves of the lightning dragon condensed into a large and a small black lightning ring. Though no stronger than before, their power was far more concentrated and sharp, allowing them to break free from the green light and push back the surrounding domains. In an instant, the rings shot outward, but Han Li reacted immediately, expelling 2 streaks of light, one azure and one golden. The azure light vanished into the profound heavenly gourd, which flared brightly as dozens of translucent green threads burst forth, ensnaring the lightning rings once more and halting them mid-flight. Meanwhile, the golden streak entered the golden flame, where nearly 30 time law threads interwove into a vast golden net. Stabilizing the flame and restoring control to the mantra treasured axis and time-severing fire domain. With rapid hand seals, Han Li expanded the golden ripples of the mantra treasured axis toward the trapped rings. The lion devil beast roared in alarm, lightning patterns blazing as all power converged upon its horns. The larger lightning ring tore free and vanished into the beast's mouth, while the smaller ring failed to escape and was pinned in place by the golden ripples before being dragged into the profound heavenly gourd. Driven mad with fury, the lion devil beast released a deafening roar that shook the cavern. Han Li sneered coldly and surged forward like a golden shadow, his time spirit domain pressing down upon his foe. Realizing it stood no chance, the devilish lion fled as a bolt of black lightning, leaving behind a furious shout of vengeance. The remaining devilish beings lost all will to fight and scattered in panic. Han Li did not pursue. As he withdrew his time spirit domain and law treasures, the golden flame shrank back to its original form, now barely over half its former size and clearly weakened, having expended much of its power. Though its effect resembled that of Fire Age fireflies, it was vastly more potent, yet likely usable only once more. Sighing inwardly, Han Li sealed it within a lotus-shaped formation of time law threads and stowed it away. Lei Yusei and the others also refrained from chasing, all of them injured and exhausted. Once the enemies were gone, the group descended to rest and recover. After nearly 2 hours, they regrouped. Lei Yusei turned to Han Li with complex emotions and expressed his gratitude, admitting they would have perished without him. Han Li replied modestly, then calmly questioned Lei Yusei about the devilish beings, prompting everyone's attention. Instead of answering, Lei Yusei flew to the shattered golden altar. After clearing the debris, he revealed a cracked and dulled array engraved upon a golden stone slab surrounded by 8 pillars. His expression darkened as he reprimanded Xiangshan for his recklessness. Xiangshan apologized perfunctorily, his eyes instead shining with delight as he gazed at the primordial ancient sword in his hand, now surrounded by dozens of golden law threads as he refined it. Lan Yuanzi and the others watched with envy, while Lei Yusei frowned but said nothing more. With the primordial ancient sword, Xiangshan was no longer the weakest among them, and aside from Han Li, none could be certain of defeating him. At this point, it is only right that all of you learn the truth. I do possess some knowledge regarding the 7th level of the Aeon Pagoda, Lei Yusei said slowly. As you all already know, this pagoda serves as a prison, and the fugitive sealed on this level is an unrivaled devil, one far more terrifying than any we have encountered before. We've already faced fugitives at the Great Encompassment stage, Lanyan scoffed. Are you telling us this one is a Dao ancestor? Our Almighty Sword Sect's founding father personally took part in sealing this being, Lei Yus replied grimly. According to the records he left behind, even if that devil is not a Dao ancestor, he stands only a step away. At those words, Lanyan's careless smile vanished. The founding father came here as well? Han Li asked. Was he acquainted with Immortal Lord Taisui? I'm afraid I don't know, Lei Yusei said, shaking his head. Han Li fell silent, doubt stirring in his heart. He could not tell whether Lei Yusei truly knew nothing, or was deliberately concealing the truth. Could this devil be the Dark Heaven's devilish deity? Su Anqian suddenly asked. The one who once used the entire Golden Origin Immortal region as a blood sacrifice? That is correct, Lei Yusei confirmed. You should be familiar with him, Celestial Maiden Su. Our Heavenly Water Sect has records of that calamity, Su Anqian said softly, her complexion paling. Please explain, Han Li urged. Many of you are not natives of the Golden Origin Immortal region, Su Anqian said with a sigh. Countless years ago, during the era when the Immortal Realm warred directly with the Devil Realm, a great catastrophe descended upon our land. The Dark Heaven's devilish deity arrived and erected a monstrous devilish array, slaughtering nearly all life in the region. More than half of all living beings perished before a Dao ancestor of the Heavenly Court shattered the array. Even today, the Golden Origin Immortal region has yet to fully recover, and his name itself is a forbidden taboo. I see, Han Li murmured, deep in thought. He could not help but wonder whether this devil bore some connection to the Night Sun Empire. The appearance of Taisui Immortal Manor was no coincidence, Lei Yusei continued. Our sect's records indicate that it emerged due to the Dark Heaven's devilish deity's attempts to break free. Wen Zhang and I came here to reinforce the seal. That seal has 5 cores, corresponding to the 5 elements. The golden altar we saw earlier was the metal core. One of the cores has already been destroyed? Lanyan asked uneasily, causing everyone's expressions to darken. That's right, Lei Yusei said gravely. As long as all 5 cores remain intact, escape is impossible. But if the remaining cores are destroyed, the Dark Heaven's devilish deity may break free. If that happens, not only will we perish, but the entire Golden Origin Immortal region will face another calamity. From now on, proceed with extreme caution and do not damage any further cores. Everyone nodded solemnly. What now? Lanyan asked. Do we continue? Yes, Lei Yusei replied. But first, I will attempt to repair this array. Though the metal core has been destroyed, its energy has not fully dissipated. If I can restore it, it may still serve part of its purpose. He crouched to inspect the array, with Wenjong joining him. After a brief exchange, the two began repairing it in earnest, while Han Li and the others could only watch. Nearly a full day passed. While Han Li and the others meditated, a surge of powerful array fluctuations swept through the air, forcing them to rise. The golden array had been restored, and a thick pillar of golden light shot upward, piercing the cavern ceiling, before slowly fading as the array was shut down. The damage was not too severe, Lei Yusha said with a faint smile. We managed to repair it. Will it still work as before? Lanyan asked nervously. I cannot be certain, Lei Yusha replied. We can only hope. Let us leave. This delay has already cost us too much time. With a sweep of his sleeve, golden light surged forth, gathering nearby rocks and piling them atop the array to conceal it. Having largely recovered, the group pressed onward. After a long journey through the cave, they reached its exit. Outside lay a vast platform, thousands of feet wide, strewn with jagged rocks, as though suspended midway up a mountain. Beyond the platform stretched nothing but dense gray mist. Xiangshan gazed into the distance before slashing his golden longsword, unleashing a massive streak of swordlight. Though it should have flown for hundreds of kilometers, it exploded after only several thousand feet, as if striking an invisible wall. There's a restriction, Xiangshan muttered. Save your strength, Lei Yu said. This restriction is tied to the Aeon Pagoda's foundation. Unless you can destroy the entire pagoda, brute force is useless. Han Li released his spiritual sense, only to find it heavily suppressed. With no alternative, the group flew upward along the mountain. After ascending nearly 10,000 feet, Worm 3 suddenly halted, prompting the others to follow her gaze. A man-made stone staircase wound upward along the mountain, beginning at a flat cliff. Let's take a look, Lei Yuche said, flying over. At the cliff's edge, nothing stood out aside from the staircase itself, so they began their ascent. Several thousand feet later, they reached a broader cliff, upon which stood an ancient blue palace built into the mountain face. Before it lay a vast plaza with a mirror-like surface resembling still water, shrouded in drifting blue mist that gave it an illusory air. Lan Yuanzi frowned. I sense fluctuations of water law power. This should be a water attribute illusory array. Han Li narrowed his eyes and activated his infernal devilish eyes, perceiving countless vortexes within the mist, drawing and repelling one another to form a strange energy field. After observing for only a moment, moisture welled in his eyes. When he looked around, Lei Yusei and the others were gone. A wry smile crossed Han Li's face. Only now did he realize they had entered the illusion the instant they stepped onto the plaza. Steadying himself, he circulated his spirit refinement technique, attempting to shatter the illusion with brute spiritual force. The world transformed instantly. The vortexes spun wildly, colliding like raging tornadoes, while thunderous waves roared in his ears. In the blink of an eye, Han Li found himself suspended above a vast, pitch-black sea. Suspended above the Black Sea, Han Li swept his gaze across the heavens and saw nothing but roiling dark clouds. Violent gales surged toward him from every direction, whipping the sea into towering waterspouts that closed in like sentient beasts. He knew this was an illusion, yet the suffocating pressure on his chest and the bone-chilling cold of the crashing waves felt terrifyingly real, leaving him momentarily shaken. Deafening rumbles echoed through the air as several waterspouts collided, so merging into a colossal vortex that swallowed Han Li whole. He was flung about by chaotic currents, each violent impact sending searing pain through his body and threatening to scatter his consciousness. Suddenly, a thunderous crack rang out as golden lightning burst from him in all directions, ripping the massive waterspout apart. His body then plunged straight down into the sea below. To his astonishment, the seawater offered no buoyancy at all. No matter how he struggled, an irresistible force dragged him downward into the depths. This vast sea seemed endless, without bottom or life, and Han Li found himself utterly alone, sinking ceaselessly into the abyss. At the same time, the others were enduring their own trials within different illusions. Worm 3, for instance, was trapped in a crimson river devoid of life. Countless shadowy forms drifted through the water like tangled weeds, clinging to her one after another. With each shadow that attached itself to her, her body grew heavier, pulling her ever deeper into the river. Lei Yusei and the rest stood frozen in place, faces twisted in anguish, as they struggled against illusions of their own. Just then, blue symbols lit up on the arms of Lan Yuanzi and Lan Yan. Bursts of blue light shot forth from the symbols and fused above their heads, instantly forming a blue barrier that radiated powerful water law fluctuations and enveloped them both. With muffled groans, the two opened their eyes. "That was close," Lan Yan said, pressing a hand to her chest, fear still lingering in her gaze. "Fortunately, the water elemental spirit talismans Master planted in us were triggered here." Lan Yuanzi replied thoughtfully. "It also helped that we entered the illusory array together," Lan Yan added. "The talismans fused their power. On its own, a single talisman probably wouldn't have been enough to wake either of us." "Let's not waste time," Lan Yuanzi said, turning his eyes toward the palace ahead. Lan Yan glanced back at the others. "What about them?" "They'll have to break free on their own," Lan Yuanzi replied calmly. With that, the two hurried across the plaza beneath the protection of the blue barrier and arrived at the palace gates. Lan Yuanzi examined them briefly, finding no restrictions, and gently pushed them open. At once, powerful water law fluctuations washed over them, warm and soothing, like a spring breeze. Inside the palace stood a blue altar identical in size and structure to the golden altar they had encountered before. Two damaged sections marred its surface, one on each side. Hovering above it was a palm-sized blue cloth pouch, silk-like in texture, embroidered with a shimmering wave motif and releasing astonishingly strong water law power. A golden flame hovered beside the pouch, just as it had beside the treasure on the golden altar. The Lan siblings exchanged a look and stepped toward the altar. Instantly, a loud rumble resounded. Lan Yuanzi seized Lan Yan's arm, and both halted, listening intently. The sound came from the blue pouch itself, like a raging river forcing its way through narrow floodgates. Joy flashed through their eyes. "Wait here while I retrieve it," Lan Yuanzi said, smiling with excitement. "Wait," Lan Yan said hesitantly. "What if releasing it unleashes that devilish deity?" "Don't worry," Lan Yuanzi reassured her. "Even if Lei Yushu was telling the truth, others can deal with it. If things go wrong, we'll leave immediately and return to the Nine Origins Temple. Whatever happens after that won't concern us." Lan Yan still looked uneasy, but Lan Yuanzi continued. "We've already failed to capture Han Li and offended Shi-chan. If we return empty-handed, punishment is inevitable, and Master may be implicated as well. But if we bring this treasure back, we might escape severe punishment, or at least protect our Master." Lan Yan's expression shifted, and at last she nodded. "Then we'll do as you say? Just be careful." Lan Yuanzi smiled and nodded, then added, "Once the pouch is freed, the law fluctuations will be fierce. Keep your distance and stay alert." "Then let's use our fusion secret technique," Lan Yan said quickly. "Even if we fail to secure it, we can at least ensure our survival." Lan Yuanzi hesitated briefly, then nodded. "That's wise. I'm not fully confident I can retrieve it alone." Relieved, Lan Yan stepped up beside him. After inspecting the altar, Lan Yuanzi flicked his sleeve, releasing numerous array flags and plates, and began setting them around the altar. Within the illusory array, Han Li and the others remained trapped, faces contorted in agony, none able to escape. Han Li continued to sink into the Black Sea, unable to awaken, no matter how he circulated his spirit refinement technique. Could this illusion be founded on water law rather than spiritual sense? The thought arose, yet no solution followed. The sea felt like a truly bottomless abyss, one that would swallow him forever. It was as though he had fallen into a realm without space or time, destined to sink endlessly unless the illusion was broken. About 15 minutes later, a circular array had formed around the blue altar. Lan Yuanzi examined it and nodded to Lan Yan, who promptly summoned a blue oil paper umbrella. Painted upon it was a vivid scene of a koi-filled pond, lifelike and serene. With a gentle spin, the umbrella rose into the air, ripples spreading across the painted pond while the koi remained still. The umbrella hovered above the altar like a floating dome. "Begin," Lan Yuanzi said. Both formed hand seals together. Blue light barriers emerged from their bodies, layering into a dual spirit domain that enclosed them and the altar. As they chanted in unison, the array flags unfurled, releasing surging water law power, while the array plates on the ground lit up, sending pillars of blue light soaring upward to surround the altar completely. As the grand array roared to life, the blue oil paper umbrella suspended above the altar began spinning faster and faster, its rotation accelerating until the pond painted upon its surface swayed as if battered by a raging tempest. The water within seemed on the verge of spilling over the umbrella's edges, while the dozen koi swimming inside were swept along the surface, darting in frantic arcs and leaving radiant golden trails behind them. At the same moment, the entire altar shuddered violently. The golden flame hovering above it remained strangely calm, yet the blue pouch embedded within began to bulge erratically. A deep rumbling thundered from inside, growing louder with every breath, until it sounded like a storm exploding right beside one's ears. Lan Yuanzi and Lan Yan exchanged a taut glance. Before either could react, a deafening boom erupted as 18 colossal water dragons burst forth from the blue pouch and lunged straight at them. Each dragon stretched over 100 feet long, its crystal-clear body gleaming as overwhelming water law power surged outward. "Hold fast!" Lan Yuanzi shouted as the dragons slammed into the defensive array they had erected. Booms rang out one after another. Blue water lightning exploded from the dragons' bodies, arcs flashing wildly as the entire altar was engulfed in crackling azure radiance. Lan Yan's face blanched when she sensed the terrifying might contained in that lightning. She steadied herself at once, rapidly forming seals and channeling her immortal spiritual power into the oil paper umbrella above. In response, the umbrella suddenly swelled to several times its original size. The pond on its surface churned furiously, as though boiling, while the koi leapt again and again into the air, tracing streaks of gold across the umbrella's surface. Runes along the umbrella's shaft lit up in succession, and clusters of black vortexes appeared, each releasing a violent suction that began devouring the raging water lightning below. The 18 water dragons continued their rampage, yet the lightning they unleashed was steadily swallowed by the umbrella. The pond roiled so fiercely that the koi thrashed in panic, lightning flashing across their scales as the struggle reached a deadlock. The lightning no longer grew stronger, but its destructive force remained unabated. "This is the limit," Lan Yuanzi said grimly. "If we persist, the umbrella will fail. We have no choice but to gamble now." Lan Yan nodded without hesitation. The siblings sat down cross-legged and closed their eyes, forming peculiar hand seals in unison. Surging waves of water law power poured from their bodies. Fine threads emerged from the two surrounding spirit domain barriers, intertwining as they tugged together, fusing into a single domain. Moments later, nascent souls emerged from the centers of both Lan Yuanzi's and Lan Yan's brows, drifting toward one another before merging into a single entity. The fused nascent soul rapidly expanded until it matched the size of an adult, its features neither distinctly male nor female. Powerful water law fluctuations erupted from the combined domain, condensing into a suit of strange blue water armor that encased the nascent soul. Its aura surged explosively. After a brief glance at the siblings' physical bodies, still seated in place, the nascent soul flew toward the altar's edge. Reaching forward, it thrust its hands into the wall of lightning and tore it apart, forcibly opening a passage. The nascent soul plunged into the altar's core. Instantly, the 18 water dragons turned upon it, attacking in unison. The nascent soul formed another seal and thrust both palms forward, summoning a circular water shield. A thunderous crash echoed as the dragons slammed into the shield. Blue lightning exploded outward in all directions, countless arcs striking the nascent soul. Though the water armor blocked the worst of it, agony twisted across its face. Even so, it pressed onward without retreat. The rumbling grew ever more violent. The lightning intensified, and the water armor began to evaporate. Above, steam billowed from the oil paper umbrella as the pond rapidly shrank. Several koi dissolved into nothingness, one after another. At the brink of collapse, the fused nascent soul finally stepped onto the altar. It seized the blue pouch and tore it free. The instant the pouch was removed, all 18 water dragons collapsed inward, merging into a single orb of water that flowed back into the pouch. The thunderous chaos ceased abruptly. The pond atop the umbrella dried up completely. Every koi had vanished, and the umbrella's surface became shriveled and scorched as though burned by invisible flames. When the last trace of spiritual light faded, the umbrella ignited and was reduced to ashes in mere seconds. Retreating from the altar, the fused nascent soul split apart, returning to Lan Yuanzi and Lan Yan's bodies. Their eyes snapped open. Lan Yan clutched the blue pouch tightly, gazing at Lan Yuanzi with undisguised elation. Lan Yuanzi was about to speak when the altar suddenly shook violently. Massive cracks spread across its surface, rapidly widening. He leapt up at once, grasped Lan Yan's hand, and flew out of the palace toward the plaza beyond. As they emerged, the mist blanketing the plaza thinned and dissipated, shattering the illusions binding everyone. Han Li, abruptly released from the illusionary sea, gasped for breath and swept his gaze around, instantly spotting the trembling blue palace and the Lan siblings hovering above. Confusion flickered across his face, but before he could ask anything, a colossal boom erupted from within the palace. A gigantic black rift tore open, splitting the palace and the cliff beneath it in two. Lei Yus cried out and tried to rush in to save the structure, but the palace was already cleaving apart, its halves collapsing to either side. Through the ruins, Han Li glimpsed the golden flame hovering above the altar, flickering weakly as if on the verge of extinction. Without hesitation, he activated the Great Five Elemental Illusion mantra, guiding it with his time law power as he beckoned toward the flame from afar. With the altar's restriction already destroyed, the golden flame flew to him without resistance. The moment the flame departed, the altar collapsed completely. A vast black hole opened beneath it, swallowing the shattered remains in utter silence. "It's too late," Lei Yusi muttered darkly. As his words faded, chilling shrieks erupted from the depths of the hole. Han Li frowned, sensing numerous terrifying auras surging upward. "Tai Sui, you decrepit wretch! I have returned!" A piercing voice howled from the abyss, brimming with endless hatred. With a thunderous rupture, a colossal devilish figure nearly 100 feet tall burst forth from the gaping hole and rose into the air above the palace. Its body was plated entirely in white bone, translucent like flawless jade, devoid of skin, flesh, or organs. Where a human face should have been sat a goat's skull, and a pair of bone wings beat rhythmically behind it, suspending the creature in midair. The aura it radiated was no weaker than that of the copper lion devilish beast, causing Han Li's brows to knit slightly. "You were the ones who freed me?" the devil asked, its gaze sweeping coldly over Han Li's group. Unsure of its intentions, Han Li and the others maintained their silence, watching the towering being with guarded expressions. Suddenly, its eyes fixed upon the blue pouch clutched in Lan Yan's hand. "If that pouch is with you, then you must be the ones who broke the seal," it said calmly. "Though I am a devil, I understand the need to repay kindness. Take these as my thanks." With a casual wave of its hand, several fist-sized blue crystals flew forth, each pulsing with dense fluctuations of water law power. The group's expressions shifted at once, clearly startled by such an unexpected development. Seeing no response and no acceptance of its gifts, the devil's voice turned icy. "So you will neither answer me nor accept my gratitude. You are beginning to wound my pride." Its arms swept out again, and the blue crystals shot forward like meteors. As they flew, black light bloomed within them, swelling rapidly before they detonated. Violent shockwaves and corrosive black mist surged outward, the mist seeming capable of eroding even space itself. Fortunately, everyone had been prepared. They retreated instantly, deploying defensive measures. "I've been trapped here for so many years that I've lost count," the devil cackled. "It's long past time I stretched my limbs." As its laughter faded, the entire cliffside collapsed with a deafening roar. From the shattered earth sprang countless devilish creatures of all shapes and sizes, lunging toward Han Li and the others. Hemmed in by the mountain's restriction, retreat was impossible, leaving them no choice but to fight. Han Li flicked his wrist, summoning an azure bamboo cloud swarm sword, and slashed toward a late high zenith stage three-headed falcon. Golden lightning erupted, forming a lightning sword that struck the falcon's central head. To his surprise, radiant golden light flared from the creature, deflecting the blow. In response, its two remaining heads shrieked in unison, releasing twin corkscrew-shaped golden ripples that spiraled toward Han Li. The ripples slowed abruptly midair, as though mired in thick mud. Han Li had already activated his mantra-treasured axis. Seizing the opening, he charged forward, heavenly baleful purgatory arts surging as he drove his sword straight into the falcon's chest. Golden lightning and silver flames erupted simultaneously, divine devilbane lightning and the flame of essence intertwining. In an instant, the three-headed falcon was reduced to a lifeless husk. Elsewhere, Lan Yuanzi and Lan Yan were under heavy pressure, beset by 7 or 8 high zenith stage devilish creatures, all clearly drawn to the blue pouch. Han Li quickly realized that, like Xiangshan's golden sword, the pouch must have served as the core of the Blue Palace array, making it a treasure of extraordinary rank. No wonder the devilish beasts coveted it. Already exhausted from using their nascent soul fusion secret technique earlier, the Lan siblings were rapidly forced onto the defensive. Han Li hesitated, preparing to assist, when Lan Yan suddenly formed an incantation seal and thrust it into the pouch. The pouch convulsed violently as thunder rumbled, and a spinning blue vortex flashed into existence, filled with lightning and the outlines of a water lightning array. Standing back to back with Lan Yuanzi, Lan Yan tipped the pouch forward. The vortex spun wildly as 7 or 8 blue water dragons burst forth, roaring toward the devilish horde. At once, Lan Yan's face drained of all color, her immortal spiritual power clearly overdrawn. Han Li felt a jolt of alarm. For a single activation to drain her so completely, just how terrifying was the caliber of this treasure? Even her law power reserves had been severely depleted. The thought made Xiangshan's ability to wield the primordial ancient sword as a late golden immortal seem increasingly suspicious. Before Han Li could reflect further, another devilish creature lunged at him. He snorted coldly and met it head-on. The water dragons moved like streaks of blue lightning, water law barriers sealing off all escape. Several devilish creatures were caught instantly, crushed in the dragon's jaws and dragged screaming toward the pouch. As they neared it, their bodies shrank rapidly, reduced to pebble-sized forms before being sucked inside. Within the pouch, the water lightning array roared to life. The vortex churned violently, and agonized howls echoed briefly before falling silent. The captured devilish creatures were annihilated completely. Lan Yan, utterly drained, collapsed at once. Lan Yuanzi caught her in a panic, propped her up, fed her a pill, and took the pouch from her trembling hands. Seeing this, the white bone devil unleashed a furious shriek. All remaining devilish creatures halted, then fled in unison. After lingering for a moment, the devil flapped its bone wings and retreated with its brethren, vanishing from the battlefield. Once calm returned, the group regrouped and retrieved their treasures. Lei Yute glanced at the blue pouch in Lan Yuanzi's hand with evident displeasure, but said nothing. Instead, he clasped his hands in a formal salute. "The array has been heavily damaged and will require time to repair," he said. "For now, search the surrounding area for any remaining treasures." Without waiting for a reply, he departed with Wen Zhang to tend to the array. Lan Yuanzi and Lan Yan sat down immediately to recover. But even after taking pills, Lan Yan remained weak and pallid. Han Li spared them a glance before joining the others in searching the area. However, with the cliff utterly destroyed, all they found were a few scattered water attribute materials. Sometime later, Lei Yusei and Wen Zhang returned. "The array is repaired," Lei Yusei announced. "We can move on." Calling Su Anqian over, the three of them resumed their ascent, with the rest following close behind. Han Li was about to leave as well when his expression shifted slightly, sensing something unusual in the distance. He turned to look, eyes narrowed in puzzlement. In the end, he chose not to investigate and departed with the others, the mountain path stretching onward into uncertainty.